Could the idea of a giant warship that is heavily armed, say 21st century battleships, make a comeback? Think of the Zumwalt, but much bigger and more heavily armed. Is that possible? With the concept of very large, heavily armed battleships may be making a comeback, a question that introduces relevant maritime warfare advantages and also raises some interesting questions. Certainly, no one disputes the exceptional contributions made in history by major World War II, Korea, and Vietnam-era platforms such as Iowa-class battleships and Alaska-class battlecruisers. Yet, such large ships with unguided weapons may not only be less useful in a more dispersed, longer-range operational sphere, but they're also substantial targets for long-range precision-guided enemy weapons to attack. Nonetheless, as far back as D-Day bombardments, the Korean War, or the Japanese World War II surrender on board the USS Missouri, battleships have carved a distinguished and lasting resting place in the hearts and minds of all Navy supporters for generations. Such a sentiment and time-honored reverence for maritime combat service is likely to endure into perpetuity for sure, as few are likely to forget or ignore the U.S. Navy's World War II sacrifices and victories. Alongside this important dynamic, there are tactical and strategic reasons why a return of large, heavily armed, and heavily armored battleships might make sense to return to the Navy's maritime warfare fleet. In a simple sense, there will likely still be a need for heavily armored, high-volume land bombardment attacks moving into the future, should the Navy need to launch an amphibious attack or soften and destroy an adversary's land weapons, such as an anti-ship missile, to operate more safely closer to shore. The critical difference with any new battleship, it seems, would be the need to incorporate a large degree of paradigm-changing technological advances, such as high-fidelity, long-range sensing and targeting, a new generation of weapons that include hypersonic projectiles, electromagnetic warfare, and course-correcting cruise missiles and interceptors. Should a new generation of large battleships be engineered with these kinds of new technologies, including precision rounds and weaponry, indeed, there might be a compelling argument to reintroduce the large battleship. For example, in recent years, the Navy has been experimenting with new precision rounds for its 5-inch deck-mounted weapons, able to both triple the attack range and introduce unprecedented levels of precision. It's realistic to envision that this could incorporate course-correcting rounds, given that many already exist on land and in the form of new tactical Tomahawk ship-fired cruise missiles. The Zumwalt-Class destroyers, for example, are slated to fire hypersonic weapons within just the next few years, something that massively improves the range, speed, and precision of maritime attack. Imagine if a large battleship were also armed with such weapons, fortified by modern, highly networked, beyond-the-horizon sensors and targeting. This could be particularly impactful or relevant in anticipation of an amphibious attack in the event the U.S. Navy does not fully have air superiority. Enemy ground defenses and offensive weapons such as mobile cruise missile launchers and ballistic missiles would need to be targeted, bombarded, and destroyed from offshore in advance of any amphibious ship-to-shore beach landing attack. Not only this, but well-positioned and well-armed battleships could supplement destroyers with firepower and have an impact on defending carriers needing to project air power. Yet, there are several additional dimensions to this, such as the question of ship defenses. Should large, potentially targetable battleships engage in high-risk missions in contested areas, they would need to greatly benefit from breakthrough layered ship defense technologies. Those new systems with the largest impact might be weapons such as EW jammers, able to find and jam the RF guidance of an incoming anti-ship missile, or laser interceptors, able to track and incinerate incoming enemy drones, ballistic missiles, or enemy surface fire. Coupled with hypersonics and new over-the-horizon offensive missiles, battleships armed with these kinds of new defenses, interceptors, and relay networking might well be positioned to bring a decisive impact to maritime warfare. There's also the question of missile defense. For instance, if a SM-3 Block 2A is able to track and potentially intercept ICBMs with Aegis radar combat systems descending into the Earth's atmosphere, a capability that has been demonstrated, then additional networked missile defense nodes would bring new dimensions and angles of defensive capability for surface ships in position to strengthen strategic deterrence posture. Finally, something woven into this is the breakthrough kind of multi-domain networking technologies. Should battleships be able to coordinate targeting, command and control, and real-time intelligence and intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance across surface, air, and undersea domains, then they would be further positioned with a tactical advantage. This would involve data analysis and transmission between surface ships, aerial drones, other surface vessels, and aerial gateways in position to see otherwise undetectable beyond the horizon incoming threats. Multi-domain networking, fast-developing technology augmented by unmanned systems and nodes could further enable new, large, high-tech battleships to bring paradigm-changing offensive and defensive maritime warfare possibilities to the Navy. The opinions expressed in this editorial are those of the authors, not necessarily those of this presenter. I'm a paid announcer.